Hello, my name is Jason Brubaker. Welcome to Cognitive Drawing. So I just wanted to go over the testing effect really quick in the first pages, and then we'll do an exercise. We'll do the first day's exercises as well. To start off your drawing journey, let's talk about something that provides the largest benefit to long-term memory. It's called the testing effect. The first documented studies on the testing effect were published in 1909. Later in 1992, more research was done on the subject, finding that it is a really great way that your brain can memorize things and learn. So what is the testing effect? How does it apply to drawing? Because a lot of this was for studies like reading things and knowledge and stuff. But I've found that over my lifetime, it is applied to drawing wonderfully. It's the simple idea that you draw a drawing as good as you can. You draw it with feedback. You draw it as good as you can, feedback. Basically, when we test what we just learned with immediate feedback and then try it again with immediate feedback, we are in essence using the testing effect. And that's what cognitive drawing is all about. There's lessons, there's worksheets, there's references, but the main thing about cognitive drawing is the testing effect and this feedback and repetition. In the words of my cognitive scientist friend Nathan van der Stoep, he says, trying to come up with something on your own and then testing it speeds up the learning process. It's one of the most efficient ways to get your brain to remember stuff. So Nathan's an artist too, and he was fascinated with cognitive drawing when I first launched it, and we became friends. And yes, he is a brain scientist. He loves studying how the brain learns things. Okay, so let's give this a shot, okay? So this is the basic way that cognitive drawing works. You'll have a reference, you look at it, you cover it up really quick. Look at the drawing only for a few seconds. So that's really critical because you're not trying to memorize it when you first look at it. The first thing you're trying to do is just know what you're trying to draw. And I suggest using a piece of paper or something to cover it up. This is the first thing you'll do, is try to draw it from memory first, as good as you can from memory. And then you uncover it, compare what you've done from memory to what the reference picture is. And then in the second box, you will draw it as you're looking at the reference. So you're studying the nuance of the reference, trying to imitate it exactly, and spend time on these things. Don't rush through it. Spend the time on it. What happens is, because you tested your memory of how to draw this, the best version of it that you could draw from memory, you're testing it by drawing it from the reference. And your brain connects these dots miraculously. You remember exactly what you were struggling with remembering when you were trying to draw it the first time, and you're applying those things the second time. And then the idea is you cover up everything again, just like in our drawing here. Cover up everything again, and do it a third time from memory, and then ideally you do it another time from reference. So we will actually do this eye worksheet together. But before that, let's just go over the rules. The rules are really simple. You probably don't even need them, but I just wanted to lay them out. These rules have worked the best for students and for myself, and so I just want to throw them out there. First rule is use a pencil and eraser. No sketching with ink because you can't fix it. No inking your sketches. Just draw the best drawing you can with a pencil and eraser. Don't be afraid to use the eraser. Digital drawing is also okay if you have a Cintiq or something like that. As long as you can draw it and erase it and get it just right. You're trying to get it just right every time you draw it. You're not trying to rush through these and get a dumb version and then a better version. You're trying to do it as good as you can every time with pencil so that you can erase it and improve on it. Rule number 2, it's not a race. A lot of people try to rush through these exercises, and it doesn't work as good unless you're trying to do the best drawings you can every time. You're not better if you finish faster. Slow down and do the best drawing you can each time for each frame and exercise. Each page usually takes about 15 minutes to an hour to complete, depending on how fast you are and how confident you are in your drawing. I recommend only doing 1 or 2 exercises a day. Many people say their brains feel tired after doing an exercise. So if you start to feel exhausted, then stop and finish the exercise you're on. If you burn yourself out, you won't remember stuff as well either. So don't burn yourself out. And these are very brain-intensive exercises, but you will remember this stuff. Rule number 3, no peeking. Don't look at the reference when you're not supposed to. Cognitive drawing won't work if you cheat. So just remember this. This is your art journey. Don't cheat yourself out of it. If you're going to put in the time to do these exercises, don't cheat because it just won't work near as good. Rule number 4 is when you're looking at the reference for the first time, just look at it for a few seconds just to get that initial idea of what it is. Don't sit there and try to memorize it. Really seriously, just On the next one, you see the eye. Okay, boom, that's it. You know you got to draw an eye. So when you start a new page, just draw the new image the way you would draw it. Don't worry about memorizing it yet. It's about doing it to the extent of what you can do. Also, don't try to trace the reference image. You're trying to memorize it, not have a crutch every time you draw. There's people that only can draw from reference and only can draw from tracing. This book is about memorizing drawing. And remember that this is just one way to learn to draw. There are many other ways you can learn and you should learn to use other methods. But this book will mainly focus on the cognitive drawing method. I have never seen it taught anywhere, ever. Not to mention, it works surprisingly well for most people. A lot of people are blown away when they try it. So, let's get started. Okay, let's do this first exercise. This is the most basic one here, just to get a good sense of what's going on. So we see this eyeball, we're going to cover it up immediately. Use a piece of paper, cover it up, okay? And then I'm going to try to just draw it as good as I can from memory. Now, I'm cheating because I'm the one who drew that eye, so I kind of already know. I kind of forget which side of the face it's on. So I'm just going to make my, do my best. I assume that I would look like. So, I'm cheating again because, I kind of know what it is that I drew. I guess I need to leave room for an eyebrow. Usually we won't have all these words in the panels. Kind of want to have this come up a little more. I know it's kind of an angular looking eye shape. My eraser is not very good. There, it doesn't look quite as bad. Anyway, so now that we've drawn that eye, we're going to take this off. We're going to compare it. Oh, it looks like I drew the wrong angle. I drew the right eye and this is the left eye. No problem. Now I can draw it from reference. So I'm just going to be looking at the reference as I draw this eye. Now this isn't going to work as well for me as it will for you because, again, this is not something that I'm totally unfamiliar with. I'm just the things I'm concerned with are like some of the nuances that I put into this eye that I wasn't thinking I put into it, So where it's going to become really helpful for me is when we're doing the later studies of the male anatomy, where I'm kind of looking forward to going through those myself with you guys. So and then we obviously got the eyebrow. Now one thing I do want to mention is if there's too much information in these references, you can focus in on just one part if you want. Don't feel like you have to draw every piece of this puzzle. That's one thing I really want to stress, especially as we get more advanced. There'll be a lot of shots where it shows an awful lot of muscles all in the same group, in the same image, and I want you guys to focus in on the parts that you want to learn, and then you can go back and do the same steps with the second part. We could do the eyebrow the second time through on this whole exercise. So it just depends on how much you want to try to focus in and retain and where you're at in your drawing journey. So I'm going to just stick with the eye here. Now I cover it up and I draw it again from memory. Now that that's done, I can compare. This is my first one from memory, just from my own brain. This is the one from reference here, and this is the one from memory the second time. And you can already see that it's a lot more refined. There's a lot more accuracies here compared to this. Now the problem with this is an example of kind of learning styles. So this is a very stylized eye. But with cognitive drawing, since we have a reference of a male model, we're actually using real anatomy and not a stylized thing. And so the goal will be going forward in this book to really learn the muscles and really realistic anatomy. You can apply this, though, to stylistic things. That is what I used it for when I was a kid, is to learn to imitate a real specific style. Cognitive drawing is brilliant for that. You can really, really hone into how an artist draws a certain style and technique. So, and as you can see, I've hammered this into that kind of style. Okay, so now I'm going to draw it again while looking at the reference up here. That's something I forgot to do. It looks like I don't go all the way up here like I did over here. My eyelashes are a lot more crazy than eyelashes in this reference image. That's okay though. Okay, so now that I've done it again from the reference, I can cover it all up again, and we'll move down here. Try it one more time from memory, okay? Okay, so now you can see my reference, my first version from memory, second version, third version, and this is pretty close. I mean, there's still some things that are a little different, like kind of like some of the shape, but it's really close. You can really see how my version has really gotten to where it's almost matched almost perfectly. And so that's the idea with cognitive drawing, is you can use this to really like hammer in nuances that your brain will retain, and you can use this for different styles of art. Now you can quickly go in here and draw these eyes. Obviously I'm drawing eyes out of memory because I've learned them before, but as we go through these lessons, I will be learning my anatomy as well. I've been drawing for a long time, but I've been actually looking forward to completing this book so I could go through it with you and really take my own understanding of anatomy to a whole nother level using the models in this book. And I'm really excited to just hammer home a lot of these principles that I studied a long time ago, but I haven't studied them recently. That's cognitive drawing. That's the end of day 1. Talk to you guys soon.
Do you want to learn to draw the female figure quickly and from memory without going to an expensive art school? Hi, I'm artist Jason Brubaker, and Cognitive Drawing is a learn-to-draw workbook unlike anything you've ever seen. This workbook solved a difficult problem. How can artists learn to draw anything quickly without spending a fortune? I've spent 3 years developing this workbook to accomplish that goal, and I'm excited to finally share it with all of you. I grew up in a small town. I had no more than high school education, but I was determined to teach myself how to draw. Well, it worked. And at the age of 21, I was represented by a top storyboarding agency in Hollywood as their fastest artist. And I worked in Hollywood for the next 20 years on hundreds of projects with all the top studios, as well as my own comics and graphic novels. One of the questions I get asked over and over is, how did I get my artwork to this professional level without an expensive art education? Cognitive drawing, of course. Although I wasn't aware of it at the time, when I was a kid, I accidentally discovered this method that I would later learn is called the testing effect. Studies have shown that the testing effect is one of the most efficient ways your brain retains new long-term information, and this book was developed using these same scientific principles. Cognitive Drawing has had over 1,000 beta testers, which have included homeschoolers, charter schools, high schools, and people who just wanted to expand on their college educations. Of those testers, 90% saw an immediate improvement in their drawing and retained what they learned. Over the course of 90 days, I'll be teaching you the techniques that made me the artist that I am. And with cognitive drawing, learning is as easy as sketch, test, results. Pick up your copy and let's get started. And pick up the second edition of the mail book as well, which has been completely remastered with more tips, tricks, tutorials, and techniques.